Hello, this is Alejandro Bratti from Believe in Yourself, Believe in Your Business, and welcome to the Spanglish World Network on Singo TV, channel 250 and 251. Please remember to download both the Singo TV app on the respective app stores on iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure to leave a rate and a comment. The app is free and is available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, and Roku. I am really excited to have today my good friend Alicia. Thank you for being here with us today, Alicia.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. Looking forward to this conversation. I know it's going to be good. We always get into the good stuff, don't we?
Yeah. I tend to go quickly to the good part, but we are going to do a lot of things, and we'll have a lot of fun today. So this is going to be really great. So anybody, if you are listening in a device that you can write a comment or leave any comment or anything, just tell us where are you and tell us a little bit about you. If not, it's okay. We will have a good conversation with Alicia. Alicia, first, I always like to start with what you are doing now. What is everything that you are doing? I know that you are the type of person that is like always changing and always evolving. So tell us a little bit of what are you doing now?
Sure. Well, let's see. Okay. So as you know, I'm working on a new book. So that's been a fun project. That'll be book number 3, not including books that I've been featured in before, but looking forward to this one because it's sort of an evolution. So my first book was Hypnosis for Success, which goes into the history of hypnosis and how to do self hypnosis. And that was really relevant when my business was as a conventional hypnotherapist. Well, I've evolved a lot since then. That book is pretty old now. Um, and after that, I had the Outside the Box Entrepreneur, which then kind of took it to the next level, which is about creating a lifestyle business, a business that really honors you, your preferences. What do you want? What do you like to do? What do you love to do? And it addressed, of course, the mindset stuff because that's my area of specialization. I love to work with business owners on identifying their old disempowering beliefs, shifting those beliefs, getting their mindset in alignment and congruent ultimately with what their heart desires, what they want to create for themselves. More success usually means more of the material things, the money and the status and the prestige and all that stuff. But it's so much more than that. It's that inner experience that we're all reaching for, the feeling of fulfillment and joy and meaning and purpose in our lives, in addition to all of the nice exterior material things that we all enjoy as human beings. And now this book is sort of the next evolution beyond even that, which is where I'm getting into a more even spiritual, I think, component in this whole piece. And clients who work with me one on one get to see that side of me. But a lot of times, people who are maybe listening to me on my podcast or they are following me even on social media, they don't get to know that side of me so much. So this book is special in the sense that I get to sort of kind of bear it all in terms of not my background, which I've told a million plus times, right? Not my history and all the trials and triumphs and all of that stuff, but bearing it all from this is what I give. This is where I'm in my alignment. This is the work that is so meaningful and fulfilling to me, and being able to give that in this book format for people to really pick up and say, I can do this.
Hmm.
I can identify what are the things that I'm bumping up against and shift those things and reach for that more empowered version of myself and achieve not only a successful business in the conventional sense with the money and all the stuff, but the real success, which is the inner success, the fulfillment and the passion and the purpose, and feeling like you're living a meaningful life that you're not going to regret.
And I love that, and I hope that today we can see the secret Alicia that only the one-on-one people can see, because that's the reality. The show it's about that, is to see exactly who is the person behind the scenes. That's what we are looking for today, and I am happy to have here today. So I know that there is a lot of misunderstanding with hypnosis, so I will want to start with your definition of that, to start to take out all the bad ideas of what is that, and then we can go a little bit of your background and continue with what you are doing as evolving, and have the good stuff that you are have been learning for the inner game. That will be awesome.
Well, all right. We'll start with the myths and the misconceptions about hypnosis. That's actually one of the reasons that I wrote my first book, because there are so many societal misconceptions. People have this idea in their mind that hypnosis is like what you see on TV, or what you see if you go to a stage hypnosis show in Las Vegas, right? It's the silly stuff. It's the, clucking like a chicken and barking like a dog. Or, some people are conditioned to believe that it's somehow evil. It's the dark arts, or, the hypnotherapist has some kind of mind control power. And all of those things are ridiculous. There are very substantial distinctions between hypnosis that is done for amusement and entertainment, like on stage hypnosis performance, versus hypnotherapy, which is really just understanding how the human mind works and using that understanding to our advantage to identify the things that we're bumping up against internally, the limiting beliefs, the trauma that we're still holding on to from events that happened earlier in our life, the things that, quite frankly, are just not good. We don't want to have to live with these challenges. And hypnosis is the technical process of inducing a brainwave state, a state of consciousness where we're able to get into the subconscious, reprogram the subconscious. And we go in and out of that state every single day of our lives. When we wake up in the morning and you're kind of in that like half awake state, guess what? You're in a heightened state of suggestibility. That's essentially the same state that we go into when we're doing hypnosis. And what happens is essentially we're just utilizing our understanding of how to enter into that state, or enter a client into that state, so that we can speak to the subconscious part of the mind where the real changes can take place. Because a lot of people are trying to make changes at the conscious level of the mind. And so we just keep dumping stuff in there. Like, how many books can I read and still not experience a real tangible shift in my life? How many programs do I need to take? How many seminars do I need to go to? How much motivation and rah-rah do I need to do before these changes start to actually take root? And I can start to see real, tangible evidence of that transformation in my life. Well, hypnosis is bypassing that critical faculty of the mind, that conscious faculty that we're kind of living our life in, right? We're just going through our life in this certain state where we're filtering out a lot of the stuff that could actually be really empowering and positive. And now we are intentionally using our mind the right way to facilitate positive changes in our lives, whether it's beliefs or behaviors or whatever that may be. And I just want to say one more thing on this, and that is because there's so much fear around this. Because this is a naturally occurring state, you can't get stuck in it. You don't give your power over to the hypnotherapist. What a lot of people don't realize is, even if you're doing really good work with a hypnotherapist and your goals are genuine and heart-centered, it's not uncommon, if there's a value conflict in the mind with the suggestion that is given to you, even if the intentions are good, your mind simply will not accept that. So it's not going to do things that are incongruent with your values. And that makes it fairly safe. Now, obviously, some people maybe don't have the depth of understanding and experience. I personally would not want to go to a hypnotherapist who was not trained in a setting where they are safeguarding against using the method in the wrong way. But for the most part, it is very, very, very safe. And you are very much still empowered when you're working with a professional who's really got the right training and coming from the right heart-centered space.
Yeah, and I sometimes people doesn't understand also that we are being programmed all the time, even with things that are happening in our lives everywhere, with our kids, with our wife, with our everything that is happening around us is programming us. Like if I start a business and doesn't work, suddenly I'm being programmed to think that I am not good at starting any business, and then I keep being an employee or vice versa. So at the end, it's only programming that we are talking, and what you are talking about here is how to start to enter those type of program that we started even as kids, and what we can do with that. So that is very interesting. So in your story, let's go directly to your story. I know that you have, I want to go quick, but go as you want to go with your story behind, like starting to know before you believe in yourself, how you were. Give us a little bit of the feeling of how you were and why and how everything started to change when you started to find this hypnotherapy and started to understand that that can change your life. And then we can go to the evolution that you continue doing, because that's, I believe it's really powerful.
Well, like a lot of people, I grew up in an environment that wasn't particularly supportive to achieving success and happiness and personal fulfillment. Grew up in an environment where there was a lot of negative energy, a lot of fear, there was a lot of scarcity, there was a lot of alcoholism and anger and all of that stuff, right? So that was essentially the environment that I was indoctrinated into this world with: violence and alcoholism and scarcity and all this stuff. A lot of people can relate to that. It's not uncommon. So I struggled a lot with depression. I struggled with alcoholism at a very, very young age. I think I started, really dabbling in that when I was about 12, and in my early 20s, it really was an issue for me. I did not have much self esteem, uh, had a tremendous amount of scarcity, just very much bumping, you could say, through life, pretty rough around the edges. I had a lot of anger and had this sort of inner desire to be successful, always had this desire to have a successful business, just continued to bump up against my own self-confidence issues, self-worth issues, self-esteem issues, and financial issues. So when I was 25, I was out with some girlfriends. We were having some drinks. Came to, I had been physically and sexually assaulted, had a tremendous amount of fear, basically had symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. That was exactly the kick in the ass that I needed,
Mm.
unfortunately, to finally pull my head out of my butt and do some really, really deep healing work. And that is where hypnosis sort of reintroduced itself in my life, as well as EFT and a lot of other modalities, including some really deep soul searching, a lot of deep, deep introspection and healing work. And that became a very pivotal transformational point in my life. It wasn't an overnight fix. It was an ongoing process of healing a lot of emotional wounds, working on a lot of deep rooted self confidence and self esteem issues, certainly a lot of working on my own prosperity consciousness and scarcity and all of those things. And fast forward a couple years, I'm managing a cell phone store. My EFT practice was generating a little bit of money, but it wasn't paying the bills. So I'm working at this cell phone store and I find out I'm pregnant. And that was not planned, we'll just say. But it was the best thing that ever happened to me, because although at the moment, right, when I found out, there was a lot of inappropriate words flying at God, for that happening, it didn't take me long for that to shift and just fully and completely embrace it. And that was what it took for me to take another huge leap forward in my business and recognize I want to raise my son on my own terms. I want to be a certain type of mom, the type of mom that I didn't have. And that means that I've got to get business right. I've got to get my business right. I've got to get my money right. I got to get my mindset right. And that was another huge growth spurt for me, because that meant going back to school. That's when I got my certification as a hypnotherapist from HMI, which is a nationally accredited college of hypnotherapy. I went back to school. I got my master's degree in metaphysical science. I went back to school. I went back to school for psychology. I mean, literally put on the superwoman cape and just was like, okay, I'm going to hit it hard and I'm going to do it right. And it was a lot of inner work. And that's where I really started to refine a lot of this stuff, because here I am, brand new baby, brand new business, hypnotherapy practice, still cleaning up a lot of those old mindset things, and knew that I had to get it right for myself and for my family. And that is sort of the launching off to where I am today, all of the over a decade later, where now I work with clients internationally. I do more than just hypnotherapy. By trade, I'm a certified hypnotherapist, but I'm really so much more in terms of mindset, because I understand there's not just one modality, right? Modalities are tools.
Mm.
And it is that inner work. It is that inner shifting of beliefs that helps us to get from where we've been to where we want to be.
Okay, so I'm going to go back once again, just in the before you have your son, a little bit of why you believe you like started like I started to find some things to do, but it's a long trip to start to heal. Why you think that you were like I want to continue healing, or it's not, no, this is not myself, and you give up? Why? What do you think was like pushing you to keep healing and looking for that heal instead of deciding like, oh, I need to, I am not that. I have to start another life, and this is me, and that's it. You know.
Well, and for ever up to that point, I was just accepting. I'm just this person who is sort of this loser and this failure, and
Mm.
bumping through life. I'm never going to be anything. I had the desire. It was in my heart. I knew it, but every time I tried, I failed. And there's this phenomenon that so many people have experienced, where you hit your own rock bottom, whatever that is for you. And that's different for everyone.
Yeah.
For some people, their rock bottom is losing everything. They're struggling. They're struggling with the alcohol, for instance. And first their wife leaves them and they lose their kids, and then they lose their home, and then they lose their job. And that's finally when they'll hit their rock bottom. Some don't even, some we see they're still doing it out on the street, homeless, and they haven't even hit their rock bottom yet. Everybody's rock bottom is different. For another person, it might be missing an important appointment. They were hungover. They missed. That is incongruent with their values. Whatever it is for us, that sort of rock bottom that I like to call it, that is when the pain of staying the same is worse than what we perceive the pain of change and transformation to be. And that's why we all avoid those things that we know, I really want to. I really want to lose the weight, or I really want to, start my business, or I really want to grow my business and maybe take on public speaking or whatever it is. And that inner nudge is always there, right? You can hear it, and you just keep pushing it away, because your mind says, no, 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 that's going to come with too much bad stuff, right?
Hmm.
Gotta make this change, I got to do that, and this might happen and that might happen. But when you reach that rock bottom, when you're in conflict now, there's a value conflict within yourself. Well, that is more painful than the possibility that you might fail. That is more painful than, continuing to struggle. It becomes more painful to stay the same than to change now. And that's sort of that flipping, that tip point. And that's essentially what happened to me is I reached a point where I couldn't be that way anymore. I couldn't accept that anymore. I'd hit my rock bottom. I put myself in a situation where I jeopardized my relationship. I jeopardized my own integrity by being out and doing something where I was with unfavorable people who did really awful, terrible things. And I put myself in that environment. That was not okay with me. I was never going to put myself in that situation again, which meant I had to change. And so the pain of being the way that I used to be now was way stronger than facing my fears, facing my insecurities, looking honestly at the stuff that was going on within me that really was dark and ugly and I didn't like it. But I had to embrace that journey
Mm.
because I knew and I was seeing the evidence that it mattered. It was working. It was helping. I was changing. I was seeing myself. I was witnessing myself becoming a better and better and better person. And that was the force that kept driving me forward, even when I'd occasionally come head to head with something that was pretty ugly, that felt very painful, that I would prefer not to have felt or dealt with.
Yeah.
But we have to be willing to embrace that.
Yeah. No, and that's something that for me it's very key of what you are doing now is, and it's also what I am doing is helping people to understand before they go to the rock bottom. Like you are like so desperate that you need something else, whatever. So I wanted to hear that because that is so powerful. At the end, sometimes we are looking like we are seeing ourselves going very down the hill, and you continue going down, but there is something else that I can find there, and it's like there is nothing else. It's start to change and start to look and start to confront your fears and the things that are in front of you. So that is really powerful. So let's continue with the evolution of how you started to, now you have your kid, you start to do all these studies, you become an hypnotherapist, a psychologist, like all the things that you study, you start to see your business and how you started to believe in your business, like now I have these skills. Now I have to believe in myself to start to believe in my business and start to see people like flowing in my business. What happened with that?
Well, the inner work doesn't stop, that's for sure. And we're challenged constantly because as I launched the business, there were always these sort of internal obstacles that I had to work through in order to get to a new level in my business. When I started my hypnotherapy practice, I knew I needed experience. I knew that I was a novice, right? And so I had to be practical in my approach. And I started small and I started to build up my confidence and build up my skill set and keep working through my internal challenges and my internal resistance. And it did not grow as fast as I wanted to. I had my ups, I had my downs, I had some big wins and I had some setbacks. And you just have to keep working on that inner game. It's in business, it's an inner game and an outer game thing. And one thing is you've got to believe in what you're doing. You've got to know it's valuable. And I knew that what I was doing was valuable because it changed my life. And I knew that it was helping my clients. And so when I would go into self doubt or discouragement or frustration or whatever, that was sort of the life raft. It's knowing that I'm not going back to a
Mm.
job. I can't. It's incongruent with my values and what I want for myself and what I want for my family. That was out of the question. I had to make it work somehow, some way. And so as I continued to stretch myself, I had to always be doing that inner process of, is this fear that I'm encountering, is this real?
mm,
Right? Is this setback that I perceive to be this genuine obstacle, is that really an obstacle? Or is there something going on within me that is making it an obstacle? Am I avoiding something? Where do I need to grow? Right? What am I avoiding and why? There's so many things that I identified. I'm avoiding this, I'm avoiding that, I'm getting easily triggered by this, I'm afraid of judgment or criticism or whatever. And you just have to keep working through that stuff and remember those are illusions,
yeah.
and they can be real roadblocks, they can be real obstacles. And the craziest thing is that they're just illusions, meaning our mind is so convinced that there really is a scary monster in the closet. So convinced that we will lay awake for literally hours, antagonizing ourselves. Can't sleep. My heart is racing. I'm so sure there's something scary in there just waiting to get me, right? But when we go and we turn on the light and we look, we see there's nothing in there. It was just all in our mind. But until we're able to look at it honestly and objectively, that fear continues
Mm,
to control us. And so believing in ourself is one really important piece. And then being willing to challenge what appears to be very justifiable reasons to retreat, to give up, to
mm.
throw in the towel. We've got to be willing to challenge those things because we can know in our heart that we're being called to do really, really beautiful, wonderful, important things, but our mind can have us convinced that's a bad idea. Go do something else. Go back to safety. And so we have to reinforce that belief constantly by willing to challenge those things.
I have a friend that wrote a book recently also, and it's very interesting because he's talking about in every belief there is a lie, and it's always the lie. It's inside of the belief, and I agree 100%. There is a lot of things that we believe that at the end it's just because I don't know. My father told me, my mother told me because I saw it one day, but it was a perception. So I started to understand that, and so inside of the business side, how you started to challenge all those beliefs that you had that were not helping you to really create the business that you were thinking, and I started to see like now I am a successful person, but I don't see any success here. I want to have a lot of success. I want to help a lot of people, but at the same time I continue to feel that I am a novice. Or how was that process to coming from the novice to started to feel like, wow, I can really do this and I can make a change in the world?
I liken it to a child going through growth spurts.
Yeah.
We do. We go through our own sort of spiritual growth spurts, our own evolutionary internal growth spurts. A lot of people call it wisdom. uh,
No, I
but
like that with the kids. That is really cool.
what it kind of comes down to, though, is you're going to have times where your belief in yourself, your belief in your business is higher than other times. You're going to have times where you get tripped up on something. Some old insecurity gets triggered. And when that happens, you are in the mindset of, I'm a failure, I'm not good enough, whatever that is. Okay. Now, one of the things that I teach is about the law of vibration. We know that everything in this universe is energy, including our thoughts and including our emotions. We can feel our emotions. When you're sad, you feel that often as a heaviness. You feel it as contraction, or your body is sort of like tense or tight, versus say anger that feels a little differently. Also, a lower vibration doesn't feel so great, feel it differently in the body. It's a physiological experience that we have. Love, we feel more expansive, we feel more open, we feel more lighthearted. Now, there's another piece to this because you notice when you're in any of those different states, the thoughts you think are different. The thoughts you think match the state that you're in. So if I'm triggered, somebody triggered an old unresolved insecurity that I'm a failure. Well, now I've got all these mental associations. Remember that time in school? Remember when that happened? Remember when I tried for this and it didn't work out? So now all these thoughts are matching that feeling and reinforcing it. And so everything I see now, everything I'm thinking, everything I'm seeing, all the evidence in my life is through that filter of that negative emotion. Whereas something good happens, I'm on top of the world. I feel incredible. A client just expressed to me their deepest heartfelt gratitude. They had a massive breakthrough. I'm on top of the world. I feel fantastic. That expansive, wonderful vibration now is the lens that I am seeing my life through. So the thoughts that I'm thinking and the belief that I have in myself to take my business and myself to the next level is really fantastic. It's wonderful. It's a match, it's a vibrational match to the state that I'm in. And we have to remember that just because we're feeling a negative feeling and all of those negative thoughts are getting stirred up, and now we're feeling bad about ourselves and we're looking at our bank balance and we're like, see, look at still just a loser, just a failure, didn't achieve my goal. Guess what? That's just a temporary way that you are perceiving. An hour from now, if you let that crap go, guess what? You can get yourself up into a higher state. Now, all of a sudden, you believe in yourself again. And so, one of the things that is so important is remembering that we have these growth spurts and we have ups and we have downs, and they don't define us because in the moment, it's going to feel like it defines you. And it's that wisdom that, look, I've been there before. I've overcome that. I've had this growth. I've had this accomplishment that allows us to move out of those lower vibrational states up into a better emotional vibrational state. And now we can actually reinforce the positive. We can start to get some more positive momentum going. And this is a natural process that's always occurring. It's just that we're not usually aware of it. And in many cases, our default is just to get sucked into the current of the negativity. Whereas if we can learn, and that's a process that I've had to consistently work with myself on, is you got to get yourself into the right mindset. You got to get yourself into the right state. You've got to challenge those beliefs. You've got to be able to shift those beliefs, and you've got to be able to grab a hold of the evidence that your mind can accept that I can do this. I'm on the right path. This is my heart's desire. This is a divine inner calling, right? And so for me, it's always been about identifying what is the negative trigger, releasing on it, reframing it in my own mind so I can get myself into a better mindset and get some positive momentum going in my life and in my business. And that's an everyday, ongoing practice that needs to be adopted to sort of weather the storms, weather the emotional storms, the old triggers, the insecurities, all the stuff that's going to come up as business owners and as human beings.
And this is important what you are saying, because one thing is thinking that I go to with my mentor, with my coach, with my hypnotherapist, with whoever, and I am going to have a couple of sessions with them, and suddenly everything is fixed. And if they found one trigger, work with that, and it's fixed. And the reality is what you are saying is, yes, of course, that is going to accelerate everything in your life. That's exactly the reason to having a coach, a hypnotherapist, a mentor, to help you accelerate the process of everything that is happening. But At the same time, you have to be thinking that this is going to be you are going to start to gain some tools that you can use in your everyday, and start to have the eyes to open to start to see like, oh, now I can see that I have this other trigger that I didn't know. I have this other trigger that I don't know. When I have this sadness or something, you're like, I don't know what happened. So I love that, and I wanted to like point it exactly, because sometimes we think that we are in a world that we want, on a society that we want to see everything happens like instantly, and okay, hypnotherapy is the quickest way, so I wanted that in 2 sessions and I'm done. And it's not that. It's, we are going to give you some tools to help you to accelerate, but you have to do the work. You have to continue doing the work for yourself and continue opening the eyes. and and you are saying, even ourselves, I continue learning and I continue checking what are the things that I need. I know that you continue doing the same. So in that regards, going to understand a little bit of that inner game and the evolution that you started to have in your business, uh, and what you are creating in your new book. Tell us a little bit more.
Well, I have to use what you just said as sort of a jumping off point because it's such a powerful mindset shift in and of itself. We are indoctrinated into a culture of quick fix. I know my generation definitely was. There
Mm,
were so many commercials for the pill that you take to lose the weight or to get rid of the headache, or the exercise machine that promises that you're going to drop all the weight and be, the next supermodel. And in reality, that's just not the way it works. When I had my general hypnotherapy practice, I encountered this a lot. A lot of people would come in with this idea. All I need is to go to a hypnotherapist. This one issue that I've been struggling with for literally years, nothing else has worked, but I'm going to go to this hypnotherapist and they're just going to fix me and I'm going to live
mm.
happily ever after.
Exactly.
Now, to be fair, there were a lot of instances where a single session would create tremendous transformation. Use the example of somebody with an addiction to smoking. Could be a 20 or 30 or 40-year smoker. Yeah, they did try all the stuff. They tried the pills, the patches, the cold turkey, all the stuff, right? Now, the difference is they're actually ready. And they do actually, they hit their rock bottom, right? They're like, okay, I'm gonna do this weird thing with the crazy person, right?
And you're the crazy person.
I'm
Just
the crazy person. And so they come in, and I would have to really set some realistic expectations here. It's possible. It's possible that you will leave this session and you will be a permanent ex smoker. It might take 3 sessions. In fact, I'm going to make you do 3 sessions just to make sure we're doing this right. And it
mm,
could happen in the first session. It could happen in the second session. It might take the third session. And it's entirely possible, although improbable, but it could potentially happen. It does for some people that have more resistant beliefs, that it could require more than 3 sessions. But that's a pretty quick fix. Now, here's the thing, that's technically one challenge, one behavior. Most people are coming into this goal, growing their business. They don't just have one small issue. They don't just have one small hang up,
no, and
right?
if you go directly with the person that is smoking, what is behind of the smoke? Like looking for the cigarette. It's not only the cigarette itself.
No, no, no.
It,
It's
there is
so
a lot of beliefs
multifaceted.
around that.
Mhm. It's so multifaceted. It is all of the emotional stuff, not to mention the habits that are formed, right? So every time they have that cigarette, they are creating an association in the mind with that behavior. That's a lot of reinforcing associations. I use that cigarette to get that extra break at work. I smoke the cigarette when I'm mad and I need to just let it out. right? I smoke that
mm,
cigarette when I'm celebrating, I'm out with my friends, I'm drinking the beers and having the cigarettes, and it's all these positive associations. Well, you've got all those habitual associations, you've got the addictive associations, right? Habitual associations are every time I get in my car, what do I start to do automatically, not even thinking? It's so subconscious, right? I reach for it. But then there's all the emotional stuff, right? So we have to desensitize all of that stuff. Now, you take someone who has a certain self image, maybe they've been struggling with self confidence or self worth or whatever, and they say, I'm following my heart and I want to create a successful business for myself, and I want to create abundance, and I want to create all this good stuff in my life. But now they have literally years worth of associations, emotionally charged beliefs that are directly contradicting this
mm,
new level of success that they want to create for themselves. And so, in a single session, we can identify actually quite a few things and shift quite a few things. But it's this process now of retraining the mind to accept I'm a new person, I'm a different person, I'm on this path, that my setbacks don't define me, that my current bank balance doesn't define me. In fact, it doesn't even define what I'm going to have a week from now or a year from now.
mm,
And those are things that really trip people up. And those are things where, yeah, the tools, that's what the tools are for. But it is so much more. It is this bigger picture, right? It's the constant awareness of what's tripping me up, what's triggering. And so, to your question, it's about sort of both. It's about get the tools, right? Learn the tools. It's about get the help, get the support, utilize the expertise of others, but adopt this as a lifestyle.
yes.
This is really the key here, because it's not just, and you hear really cool things, right? You'll hear somebody, some celebrity or some athlete say, I used hypnosis and it was a game changer for me, right? I was able to overcome my fear of public speaking. I was able to achieve massive success in my business. I was able to make it to the Super Bowl or the Olympics or whatever. And people have this idea, oh, that's exciting. All I need to do is just go do this thing and it's going to make me all better just the way I want to be. When really, there's so much more to it. There's all these subtle nuances. That's
Yeah.
a big piece of it, but it's only one piece of it. Just like flour is a really important part of a cake, you're not going to have a cake with just the flour.
Yes. So let's. I know that we are. Time is going so fast that we have only like 5 to 7 minutes. Uh, let's talk about a little bit of your book, what you are doing now, what is the evolution that you are finding. Because I keep asking about this because I see even the hypnosis and everything is part of something bigger, and that's what you are finding now. It's like something like, okay, let's connect our soul with everything that is happening and start to connect with that. I know that we even connected through a program that we were both doing together. And suddenly we feel like, okay, that program continues to be a great program, but it's not exactly everything that we want. So tell us a little bit more about what you are finding now with the more fulfilling for you.
Well, part of this was me being willing to kind of step out and say, I'm more than just a mindset coach. I'm more than just the go to hypnotherapist for entrepreneurs. The people that I'm working with intimately, my clients, this is so much more of a deep, almost spiritual process that we're going through,
Mm,
because those desires that we have for the success, we think that it is for kind of these external things, but really that's a deep inner calling. And I want to bring more awareness to the fact that we have this inner desire that is really a divine driving force within us. And when we embrace that, that sort of negates some of those mental things, right? The mental stuff that says, I'm not worthy and I'm not deserving and I can't and I shouldn't. Well, when we recognize that that desire in your heart, that is your divine self, if you will,
mm,
calling for more expansion, calling for you to do really valuable work in the world. Doesn't matter if you are the owner of a garbage service. There is value in the work that you do, and your heart is sort of calling you to greater evolution, greater expansion. And so I have obviously continued to do my work with my private one-on-one clients, but I've also expanded out to create my Inner Game Academy so that I can support more people in a more affordable way through my membership platform, where there's access to hypnosis audios and EFT videos and a lot of this deeper mindset work and learning how to release the negative emotional charge on beliefs and how to identify where you're getting tripped up. Because I believe that while some people can easily afford to get the one-on-one support they need, I know in my business, I had a lot of ups and downs, and I couldn't always afford that level of support. And a lot of people aren't out there teaching this stuff. They're not, it is readily available, but you sort of have to go down the rabbit hole to find it in a lot of cases.
yeah.
And so creating accessibility to transformational content that creates personal empowerment,
Mm,
because there is absolutely value in the one-on-one that we do with our coach. I have a coach. I love my coach, right? And I'm an advocate for that. But I also am such an advocate for master the tools, learn the processes, master the processes, because that is where the real transformation occurs, in the moment to moment thoughts, in the moment to moment inner dialogue. And so my book is about teaching the process that I take my clients through. The Inner Game Academy is all about, taking somebody by the hand in a virtual sense and guiding them through these processes to just give more support to incredible entrepreneurs, people who are feeling called to do their work. That is their divine inner calling. And they've got some mindset stuff that they're bumping up against that is inhibiting them in some way, shape, or form. And my passion really is to sort of hand over the key and say, listen, this is how you can set yourself free from that.
mm. That is really cool. It's really amazing. So I we are at the end of the program already. Really, it was amazing to have this conversation with you. I know that we can continue talking for a couple of hours more about a lot of the stuff that we like. But thank you, Alicia, for today. Do you want, if somebody is like at the last minute listening, and you want to tell them something like, okay, if you didn't listen to everything, but you want to have a nutshell of what is happening and even how they can connect to your inner game, tell us a little bit about that.
I would just love to bring bring this sort of kind of, this is the point, right? This really is the point. Even if you believe in reincarnation, you only get this shot once, right? And do you want to look back on your life and say, you know what? I might have effed up the first 3/4 of it, or half of it, or wherever you're at. But you know what? I stopped at one point and I pivoted and I decided to go for my goals, go for my dreams. And now I'm able to look back without regrets. I'm able to say, I lived fully, I loved fully, I created, I followed my heart. My life was fulfilling. we have to stop pretending that we get another chance tomorrow, right? We do get another chance tomorrow, but let's stop putting off our goals and our dreams, because a year from now, you're still putting it off. 2 years from now, you're still putting it off, right? Right now, you have the ability to say yes to yourself, yes to your dreams, and that is going to involve that inner journey. You've got to be willing to face your fears, face your challenges, clean it all up, and be the best version of yourself. And if anybody wants to learn more about my Inner Game Academy or working with me, they just simply go to aliciacramer.com. Everything is there.
Awesome. So thank you very much, Alicia. It was really a pleasure to have you here. I did some of the things that you are doing, and I was with you having some sessions. So it was really amazing, and I highly recommend everybody that is here to give it a try. So thank you, Alicia, for this time. Thank you for your wisdom and sharing all the stuff that you are doing now. Everybody, this show can also be heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out SpanglishWorld.ca for the news and programming. Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and leave it. See you all. Bye bye.